Before I left the United States, I never thought about the idea that there are foods in the United States that you cannot get in other parts of the world because we're America and everything is amazing here or there. And you should be able to get things like Skittles, M&Ms, Frosted Flakes, Captain Crunch, the McDonald's McRib, Doritos, Gatorade, Cheetos. I mean, the list goes on and on. Those are all things that are banned in Europe. Although I do see those from time to time here. So I'm curious to watch this next video, see if I can get an explanation on that. This video is called Why American Food is Banned in Europe by a little channel called Plain Capital. And I will include a link in the description so you can head on over to their channel, do all of the YouTube stuff. I'm sure they would appreciate that. This video is probably going to be a banger, so I can't wait to watch this, see what this is all about. Before we get going here, if you like this content, then please like the video. That really helps a lot. Let's see what we can see.
McDonald's operates in 118 countries. In the UK, their burger bun has about a dozen ingredients. But in the US...
Oh, he said the burger bun. I was like, what are you saying? Hold on. They got about a dozen ingredients. Okay. And in the US...
same bun has over 25. And up until 2016, one of those ingredients was a dough conditioner that's also used to manufacture yoga mats and shoes. And the CEO of
What the hell? Oh, man, I don't know. I guess I know these things, but just hearing it, this is like, oh my God, can't believe this happens, but it does.
McDonald's just went viral recently.
Wait, hold on. Hey, I'm reacting. Everybody just calm down. I know you're like, stop pausing it. Just calm down. All right, let's see.
To manufacture yoga mats and shoes. And the CEO of McDonald's just went viral recently, eating one of these burgers on camera, calling it the product the entire time. Not the burger, not the food, the product. And honestly, that might be the most accurate description of American food right now. Because there are over 3,000 additives approved in the US that are restricted or banned in other developed countries. And every single one of them got there through a regulatory loophole that was created in 1958 and hasn't been meaningfully updated since. So the question isn't whether these companies can make food without these chemicals. They make cleaner versions of the same products for every other country they sell in. The question is why they choose not to do it here.
Isn't that interesting? The same companies. Well, that explains why I was able to get those here in Europe. Because I've seen Doritos, not as many varieties, but I've seen Doritos, I've seen Skittles, I've seen Frosted Flakes. We have some in our kitchen right now. So I've seen some of the things that are banned, but that's how, because they make two different like versions of it. What the hell? Like, why can't you just make it the same? God dang, America's screwing up everything.
To understand how this works, let's forget about the history for a second and just follow a product. Let's say a food company develops a brand new chemical, never been tested, never been reviewed, and they want it in a box of cereal by next month. Let's call it Compound X. Here's what happens. The company would hire a panel of scientists to review the safety data on Compound X. Many of these scientists have financial ties to the company paying them. And every single time they reach the same conclusion, Compound X is generally recognized as safe, or GRAS. That GRAS label is so important because it's basically a golden ticket. Any ingredient that gets classified as GRAS is completely exempt from the FDA's normal approval process. No safety review, no testing requirements, no waiting period. It skips the entire line.
What we have seen over time.
Wait a second. Let me understand that. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna watch that one more time because it sounds. I want to understand it. Hold on. Okay.
Next month. Let's call it Compound X. Here's what happens. The company would hire a panel of scientists to review the safety data on Compound X. Many of these scientists have financial ties to the company paying them. And every single time they reach the same conclusion, Compound X is generally recognized as safe, or GRAS. That GRAS label is so important because it's basically a golden ticket. Any ingredient that gets classified as GRAS is completely exempt from the FDA's normal approval process. No
What?
safety review, no testing requirements, no waiting period. It skips the entire line.
What we
Wait. So what he's saying is you have these scientists who, I don't know, have a financial incentive because you're paying them, and all they have to do is say it's generally recognized as safe. And it skips all the other crap. Oh God. Okay. Good thing I don't live there. Anyway, back to the video.
No safety review, no testing requirements, no waiting period. It skips the entire line.
what we
Damn.
have seen over time is that companies are creating new ingredients, having their own scientists or hiring outside scientists to make their own determinations that an ingredient is safe. And then once they self-declare that their ingredient is safe, they don't have to go through that pre-market process.
The FDA created this designation in 1958. And it was
Oh.
originally meant to cover things like salt, vinegar, and baking soda. Stuff nobody needed to test because humans had been eating it for centuries. But by the 1990s, the FDA had a problem. You see, as food became more and more industrialized, hundreds of companies were submitting applications to try to get that golden ticket for the new ingredients they were using. And the agency didn't have the budget or the staff to review them all. The backlog was so long that it would take years to clear. So in 1997, under pressure from the Clinton administration's push to cut costs and speed up federal agencies, the FDA made a decision that changed everything.
There was an announcement today by the Food and Drug Administration. Bettina Gregory has the story.
Instead of requiring companies to submit their safety data for review, they made the whole process voluntary. That means the company doesn't have to submit its determination to the FDA. It doesn't have to share the safety data. It doesn't even have to tell the FDA that compound X exists. It can just start putting it in food and shipping it to stores. Think about that for a second. That's like a student grading their own exam and the teacher saying, you don't even have to show me the test. I'll just take your word for it. And this
What? Like this is just blowing my mind. This is crazy. I mean, obviously, I never had a reason to dive into the food antics that happen in the U.S., but this is crazy. So it sounds like, man, they put their own crap in food, and maybe like the equalizer, maybe is that they fear some type of lawsuit if somebody gets sick or something like that, and so they'll, because of that, they won't just put anything in there. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out why this even is a thing or why this even makes sense. That's crazy. They could just put whatever they want into the food. Oh, man.
isn't a hypothetical edge case.
Yeah.
According to a 2022 analysis, companies have used the system to self-approve nearly 99% of new food chemicals since the year 2000. The Pew Research Center estimated in 2013 that roughly 1,000 ingredients had entered the food supply through this pathway without the FDA even knowing about them. The FDA's own former deputy commissioner for food admitted in 2014 that we simply do not have the information to vouch for the safety of many of these chemicals. So the system that was designed in 1958 to exempt salt and vinegar from paperwork is now the primary pathway that the entire food industry uses to put new chemicals into your food without any oversight. And this is where you start to see why the same food tastes different depending on which country you buy it in.
Coca-Cola. I drink that here. I mean, not every day, but I never used to drink in the U.S. Not ever, ever, never, ever. And it tastes less sweet here. So
take a mac and cheese from Kraft, for example.
cheese.
For decades, the US version got its color from something called Yellow 5 and Yellow 6. They are synthetic dyes derived from petroleum. But the UK version used something way healthier. They use paprika extract and beta-carotene, which is an orange pigment naturally found in carrots.
Oh, what? They use like real food? Oh, wow. That's so surprising. I mean, hello. Wow. Paprika extract, beta carotene. In the US, we use some chemicals. Oh my God. They use chemicals. Sorry. I'm European now. I mean, I know I'm not, but whatever. I like to say that from time to time.
Not because Kraft can't make it without the artificial dyes in the UK. It's because in Europe, yellow 5 and yellow 6 dyes requires a mandatory warning label that reads, may have an adverse effect on activity and attention in children. Rather than putting a warning on the box, Kraft just formulated for the European market. But in the US, no warning is required, so the artificial version stays on the shelf. Another good example is the popular drink Mountain.
Well, isn't that interesting? Because if that is a true statement,
So the artificial version.
hold on. This product may have adverse effect on activity and attention in children. So if that is true, that means in the United States, you got a bunch of children, because kids eat the hell out of some mac and cheese. So you got a bunch of children who are eating this stuff, and they can have an adverse effect on their activity and their attention, like attention span. Man, it's crazy. This is crazy what happens, and you just go through life and you don't even know. Like, we all have no idea. Mac and cheese is good. That's what you think when you're over there.
The European market. But in the US, no warning is required, so the artificial version stays on the shelf. Another good example is the popular drink Mountain Dew. It contains brominated vegetable oil in America, a pretty bad oil for your heart, but not in Europe or Japan because they're banned in those countries. Bread products across dozens of American brands contain potassium bromate, a dose strengthener banned in Canada, the UK, the EU, China, and Brazil, because research linked it to kidney damage and cancer in animal studies. California banned it in 2023, but at the federal level, it's still approved, which means a chemical.
California banned it in 2000, whatever he said, 23. And I can tell you right now, there's some people who probably think California's a communist state because they did stuff like that, trying to look out for the people. Isn't that interesting?
2023. But at the federal level, it's still approved, which means a chemical that most of the developed world considers unsafe is sitting in.
Sorry, I rub my eyes. My eyes water all the time. I don't know why it happens, but it just does. So, you know, if you see me rub my eyes, that's why, because I don't want to have like puddles of tears right here. I'm not crying, but still, I don't know.
Which means a chemical that most of the developed world considers unsafe is sitting in the bread aisle of grocery stores in 46 out of 50 American states. None of these companies are being forced to use these ingredients. They're making a financial calculation that using cheaper inputs in the American market is worth it, because the regulatory system doesn't penalize them for doing so. The US operates on an innocent until proven guilty standard, where an ingredient is assumed safe until enough evidence accumulates over years or decades to prove it's harmful.
That is true. They operate on an innocent until proven guilty system. So if something happens and somebody gets sick, then they have to take the company to court to prove that it was their product that made them sick. And these corporations have multi-million-dollar lawyers and all these things going up against somebody who is living on a farm in Kentucky somewhere who might not have all the resources. So it's a scam, a racket. It's a whole bunch of stuff.
Enough evidence accumulates over years or decades to prove it's harmful. Europe uses the precautionary principle, which flips the logic. If there is uncertainty, a new ingredient doesn't get approved until the manufacturer can scientifically prove it's safe. And America hasn't switched to the European model for one straightforward reason. Both sides benefit from keeping it the way it is.
Yep.
For the FDA, reviewing every new additives would take years per ingredient and require a budget that they don't have. For the food companies, it's even simpler. Why spend millions on independent safety testing and wait 2 years for FDA approval when you can pay a fraction of that to certify food safety yourself? Back in 2010, when one company was questioned by the FDA about the safety of an ingredient called theobromine, they simply withdrew their voluntary notification, hired an independent contractor to declare it safe anyway, and kept using it. The FDA.
What? This video is just blowing my mind. That's crazy. And if it took you, 2 years or whatever that process he was saying, if it took you $2 million to push that, to pay for that, then pay somebody $1 million. You save $1 million. And then the person who's making $1 million was like, yeah, for $1 million, I'll say whatever you want me to say. Oh man, this is a good video. I'm like literally like really shocked. I'm not shocked, but I'm like amazed. It's probably a good word.
Had no mechanism to stop them. The agency can't afford to enforce stricter rules, and the industry has no financial reason to follow them. That's how a loophole stays open for almost 7 decades. The GRAS loophole is basically a multi-billion-dollar subsidy for whoever can exploit it most creatively. And the companies exploiting it the best are the ones you've never heard of.
Oh. Dang, that food looks good.
Go to your kitchen right now and pick up the first packaged food you see. Could be a bag of Doritos, a can of Coca-Cola, a cup of yogurt, or a box of Cheerio. Flip it over and look at the ingredient list. Somewhere on there, you are almost guaranteed to see 2 words: natural flavors.
Yep.
That phrase is doing a lot of work because in most cases, the formulation behind those 2 words wasn't created by the brand on the front of the box. There are 3 major firms that engineer the flavors in almost everything Americans eat. The food brands hire them the way a restaurant hires a chef, except these chefs serve 300 million people and nobody knows their name. The biggest is a Swiss company called Givaudan. The second is an American company called IFF, which stands for International Flavors and Fragrances. And the third is another Swiss firm called Firmenich. Together, they control over 55% of a market worth over $40 billion a year.
Wow.
Givaudan alone holds roughly a quarter of the global market and offers over 2,200 different strawberry flavors in its category.
What
Not
the hell?
22, not 220, over 2,200 variations.
2,200 variations on how a strawberry tastes. There should be like one variation. Oh my God, this is ridiculous.
Not 22, not 220, over 2,200 variations of a
What?
single fruit flavor, each one optimized for a different product and a different consumer base. IFF
Wow.
purchases roughly 8,500 raw materials from 2,300 suppliers worldwide, blending them into proprietary compounds that get licensed to the brands you see on the shelf. And every single one of those formulations is legally classified as a trade secret. So when you read natural flavors on the label, you're looking at a formula that could contain dozens of individual chemical compounds, solvents, and preservatives, none of which have been disclosed because trade secret law overrides ingredient transparency laws in the US. And here's why the secrecy matters so much to them. These formulations aren't just about making food taste good, they're engineered to make you eat more.
Yeah. Make you eat more, make it have a longer shelf life, all this crap. Man. Oh my God. I'm not looking forward to visiting back in the US. And the food is the one thing. Now, besides gun violence, anyway, the food is one of the things that I'm like not looking forward to when I go back to visit. Oh God. Let's see
About making
what
food
foods
taste
he's about
good.
to tell us
They're
about.
engineered to make you eat more.
Oh God. Ooh, cheese balls. Oh God.
Food scientists call it the Bliss point, the precise combination of sugar, salt, and fat that triggers the strongest craving response without ever making you feel fully satisfied. It's why you can eat an entire bag of chips without feeling full, the same way you would after a home-cooked meal.
That's true. I can eat the hell out of some chips and I don't feel full. That's terrible, but I can eat some Doritos or something and not feel full at all.
Entire bag of chips without feeling full, the same way you would after a home-cooked meal. Your body isn't registering food the same way because the formulation was specifically designed to bypass your satiety signal, the part of your brain that's supposed to tell you, okay, you're full, stop eating. And the bliss point isn't a general target. It's calculated down to the milligram for each individual product. Researchers have found that there is a specific concentration of sugar where the craving response peaks. And if you go even slightly above that concentration, the product starts to taste too sweet, and people would eat less of it. So the flavor company aren't just making food taste good, they're finding the exact mathematical ceiling of how much pleasure your brain can process before it tells you to stop. And then they're parking the formula right below that line. That's why you reach the bottom of the bag and think, I didn't even realize I was still eating. That was the design working as intended. And the reason these companies guard these calculations so aggressively is because getting the bliss point right on a single product can be worth hundreds of millions of dollars in annual sales. Ultra-processed foods built on these formulations now make up nearly 60% of the average American adult's diet. And the number has been climbing up for decades. And studies are now linking high ultra-processed food consumption to increased rates of obesity, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and cognitive decline. But the FDA has no regulatory category for ultra-processed. This means the fastest growing segment of the American diet exists in a complete regulatory blind spot. But the good news is that the FDA was directed in 2025 to explore closing the GRAS self-affirmation loophole. But
in 2025, I wasn't even there. So my whole life in the U.S. has been a lie. Nah, it's been a scam when it comes to food. It's been like a scam. And now they're finally deciding to do something about it. Well, now I'm not going to experience it because I'm over here now. But man, that is just unbelievable.
the rulemaking usually takes years, and the food industry will lobby against any changes that increase their costs. And thousands of FDA scientists were fired in April 2025 due to cost-cutting measures. It means the agency now has even fewer resources to enforce the rules that it already has. If you want to protect yourself today, here's something you can do the next time you're at the grocery store.
Then here's something you can do to protect yourself. Get the hell out of there and move to Europe. It's just an idea. Well, let's see what he has to say. That's probably not what he was going to say, but that's what I said.
Before you put something in your cart, flip it over and count ingredients. If the list has more than 5 ingredients you can't pronounce or wouldn't find in a home kitchen, just put it back. If natural flavors appear in the first 5 ingredients, the product is more engineered than you think. And if you really want to know whether what you're buying is safe, check if the same product exists in the European version. If the European label is shorter, you know that the American version contains things that at least one developed countries decided weren't worth the risk. I'm curious to know what you think about ultra-processed food, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this deep dive on food, here's another.
Oh my God. That was a good ass video. That was really good. But man, I cannot believe, I need to stop saying that. I can believe it. I'm just amazed that, you know, that's how it is over there. It all comes down to money and convenience and ease and everything. Why couldn't you just take care of your people? That's not how it works over there in the US. I'm grateful to be here. So, you know, I'm glad I'm not there. I'm grateful to be here where some of those things are banned. That was an awesome video. As I said before, there will be a link in the description so you can go over there and show him a little bit of love. And hey, if you have anything else you want me to react to, just go ahead and drop that in the comments. I'll do my best to take a look at it. My name is Greg. Thanks for joining me here today, and we will catch you on the next video. Peace.